¿Has notado, te habías dado cuenta de que estamos inmersos en un mar de fuerza y de coacción, y no solo en la vida laboral, sino en la vida educativa, en la vida familiar, en la de los amigos? Todos lados estamos inmersos en mucha fuerza que se usa contra las personas o la usamos contra las personas. Y esto no nos ayuda a tener buenos trabajos, buenas formas de colaborar. Si quieres saber de qué se trata Radical Purpose, te invito a que te quedes a lo largo de esta gran charla con José Leal. Esta conversación fue hecha con él desde California, yo desde Guadalajara, y donde nos comparte qué es eso de las necesidades humanas radicales, qué es eso de los ambientes de fuerza y cómo es que le podemos hacer para organizarnos de una manera mucho más ágil, más humana y más productiva. Ahí te veo.
Viaje por las metodologías de la autogestión. Tercera temporada. Comenzamos.
Estoy con José Leal entonces y como ya se los anticipé en la presentación de introducción, esta conversación va a ser en español y en inglés. Vamos a poner los subtítulos en español. José entiende mucho de lo que hablamos en español, pero es más fluido cuando habla en inglés o en portugués.
No, actually, I speak English better than even
Ah, ok,
Portuguese.
ok. Entonces, todas mis preguntas y reflexiones van a ser en español y pues adelante, José. ¿Puedes presentarte brevemente quién es José? ¿Quién es José Leal?
Soy José Leal. I was born in Portugal, so I speak some Portuguese, but I left there when I was 8 years old, so not great. And because I live in California, I've learned some Spanish, so that's been a benefit while working with Latin America. Um, my background is as an entrepreneur. I've started 6 businesses in my life. I've worked in corporations and learned what not to do in business. And that work has led me to found and co-found Radical and Radical Purpose, which is radical means root. And the root of work is human motivation. And so when we don't understand human motivation, we don't understand work.
Ok. Entonces, bueno, es muy bueno haber estado trabajando desde los trabajos que has tenido, donde sabes lo que no hay que hacer y has sido emprendedor. Y entonces la pregunta que nos tiene aquí, la pregunta principal, que es con la que me gustaría conducirnos en esta pequeña charla, es ¿qué es Radical Purpose? ¿Es una metodología? ¿De qué se trata la metodología o la filosofía o movimiento?
It's a movement about a lens. A lens is the way we see the world, and the way we've seen the world up till now in our current society is that human beings have full control over their motivation, and that they choose to do what they do and feel what they feel, that they have the conscious control over what's happening in the world. And the reality is they don't. So radical purpose is understanding that we as human beings have our own purpose built into us, that the life inside of us has functions that cause us to behave the way we do and feel the way we do. And understanding that allows us to create better places and better ways of working. And so it's an understanding at the root of work, which is humanity, that we can first understand who I am, who you are, and then we can build the collaborative environment that will support us.
Bueno, yo conozco a José, creo que hace 2 años, y, y lo que he entendido es justo esto que nos está diciendo, ¿no? Es cómo nos vamos conociendo primero a nosotros, luego cómo te conozco a ti, y cómo a partir del yo y del tú nos hacemos el nosotros, para entonces crear mejores condiciones de convivencia entre nosotros. Eh, Esto podríamos decir que es eh, una muy buena parte o parte de la esencia de Radical Purpose, pero sé que si nos metemos todavía más a profundidad, podemos encontrar las necesidades y todo lo demás, ¿no? Entonces me gustaría si tú puedes ir profundizando sobre qué es todo lo que propone el Radical Purpose.
So the first place to start is to understand that we are each of us a piece of life, right? We come from our parents come from their parents, all the way back in evolutionary time. And so everything that I feel, that you feel, that your babies are going to feel, comes from what's built into them, to what's built into us. And those functions that operate in us are life functions. They're there to maintain our life and to help us live our life. We call them needs because they feel to us like things need to be the way that we expect them to be. But they're life needs. They're needs in order to live our life. And what we've learned, I mean science, has learned is that those needs operate in us in an automatic fashion. We don't consciously control. You don't choose who you love. You don't choose what you like. It chooses you, right? The person you love chooses you, right? You automatically fall in love with someone. You like people, you like certain things, you like certain sports, you like certain activities. Those things are built into you. And so when we talk about understanding ourselves, we mean understanding how you personally have these needs in you, how they show up, and how they change your behavior versus somebody else who has different needs and changes their behavior differently. And understanding that we have needs helps us not be guilty about who we are, helps us not feel like we have to blame other people for who they are. Am I speaking too quickly? I know we're going to have to translate this.
No, estás hablando muy bien. Estaba pensando dos cosas. Uno es la manera tan interesante y tan fácil que comunicas, y a la par, al mismo tiempo, yo estaba pensando en esto que estás diciendo. Las necesidades no las puedo pensar, no las puedo decidir, solo llegan y se sienten. Y el autoconocimiento, entonces, si estoy entendiendo bien, el conocerme a mí mismo tiene que ver con entender cuáles son esas necesidades que yo voy sintiendo, porque no las puedo pensar. Porque esas necesidades son esos elementos que me ayudan a ir sabiendo cómo quiero vivir.
So it's interesting because you say, they help me. They don't help you. They are you.
Ok. No me ayudan. O sea, yo soy esas necesidades.
Las necesidades son tú. Y tú es las necesidades.
¿Y cómo me puedo dar cuenta entonces de cómo soy yo entonces? O sea, si hablamos de necesidades y que las necesidades no son las mismas mías que las tuyas, ¿cómo, cómo puedo profundizar y entenderme mejor?
So one of the things that our society has done very well is we've taught each other how to look outside and how to read the signs in the world. We tell a child, here's what that sign is. Do not cross the street, it's dangerous. Here's another sign, red light, stop, don't go ahead. We teach each other all of the signs about the outside world, but we don't teach each other about the signs inside. And so we have a map. We tell children, if you walk on the sidewalk. Don't walk on the street. Don't walk on the train tracks, right? Don't walk, blah, 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 blah. But we don't say, hey, look at what you're feeling. Know what your map is inside. Learn what functions are in there that are coming from life. Understand them. And from that, start to see, oh, wait a minute. If I walk on the street in me, it hurts. I feel pain or fear. But if I do the things that are safe in me, then I feel happy and excited. Well, what are those things? That requires that we have a little bit of a map to understand what those functions in us do. And so radical purpose has created what we call the dynamic, the radical purpose dynamic, which is based on science, the 5 dimensions of our needs, which is being, meaning, impacting, belonging, and becoming. And those 5 dimensions are what scientists have considered the parts of us that are necessary to be able to act. And so when we have feelings, our feelings are coming from one of those 5 areas. And those 5 areas have many, many different needs. Those are just the broader dimensions of our needs that help us to start to have a little bit of a map of what's happening inside us.
O sea, estas 5 categorías que nos hablas de las necesidades, que son, así como las dijiste, del ser, de impactar, de pertenecer, de llegar a ser, de significado, son entonces, a ver si lo entiendo bien, José, categorías donde dentro de esas categorías existen las emociones o los sentimientos de esos feelings. Entonces, estas categorías que nos acabas de decir, dentro podemos reconocer emociones más específicas.
Yes, because, so for example, if I say to you, I feel sleepy, which one do you think of those 5 is the one that gives me feeling sleepy?
Bueno, no es significado, no es impactar. Yo creo que llegar a ser sleepy como con cansancio, con sueño.
No, más. Try again. Una vez
Tengo
más.
5 oportunidades, ¿ok?
Sí, sí. Ser.
Being, okay.
Ser. Because the body is everything that we do. I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, I'm sleepy, I'm tired, is about the organism first.
Okay.
So any of those feelings that have to do with those things, being uncomfortable, being hungry, those things are all said or being. But with if I say to you, okay, now I'm excited.
Okay. Meaning.
Exactly.
Significado.
Yeah. Because we get excited by things that interest us, things that make sense to us. And so we become full of energy. Motivation gives us energy or to engage or to pull back from. That's what motivation does. So I'm motivated to be afraid or to lean in and participate. And things that are meaningful to us, that are interesting, we play with them, we get excited by them, we want to work with them, we get enjoy, we get a lot of energy. But things that are not interesting, then we just feel sort of either we are uninterested, which is also a feeling. I don't feel interested in that, or we are, I don't like that, or I feel anger towards that. So those types of feelings are what we start to look at to understand what's happening inside me and understanding me. But it's not so much about the feelings. The most important, I mean, it is about the feelings, but what I want to say is that the important part, before we focus on the details of the feelings, is to understand that we are trained to believe that we're in control, that our conscious minds are in control. And so we blame ourselves for things we think, things we do. And we say, oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, I'm such a bad person. Why did I say that to my wife? Why did I do that to my colleague? And it's not because we consciously didn't do it. Our bodies did it. If we understand why our bodies did it, why the life inside us did it, then we don't have to blame ourselves. But now we can then look at the feelings and understand so we don't do it again. When we blame, we cannot correct. When we understand, we can correct. Does that make sense?
Sí. Estoy procesando lo que dices, eso estoy entendiéndolo. Y no sé si esto es lo más importante, por lo menos de lo que llevamos en la charla, pero yo me estaba preguntando, ok, la propuesta es conocer estas necesidades que aquí están puestas en estas categorías a su vez tienen los elementos más específicos, y yo me preguntaba, ok, ¿qué sigue después de que yo conozca cuáles son mis necesidades? O sea, ¿y qué sigue después de esto? Y no sé si la respuesta es justo lo que nos dices, para no mentirnos nuevamente. O sea, para hacerme más fiel a mí mismo. ¿Es así?
It is that. But it's really important to know that these functions, these needs, because they operate without us knowing, they react to the world without us knowing. They react to the world outside us without us knowing. And so when we work in environments that make us feel insecure and unsafe, we don't recognize that that's what we're feeling. So a lot of people go to work and they feel completely unsafe because they work in a place where a boss can fire them. They work in a place where there's bosses who can tell them what to do and be, harsh to them, who review them, who rate them, who, do all kinds of things to them, and they feel out of control. One of the things that humans have, one of the things that comes out of those 5 dimensions is the need for radical autonomy. Autonomy, without radical autonomy, people always feel constrained. They feel in a box. And so, and when they feel that, it's that system coming back and saying, I'm not happy with this. But people say, oh, I'm not good enough. I go to my work and I feel nervous. I'm not good enough. I'm in a meeting with my boss and I feel nervous. The other people, they can do those things, but I can't do those things. I would like to be that kind of person, but I can't do that kind of thing. And the reason is because we blame ourselves for our feelings rather than understanding that our feelings come from these needs and interact with our environment without our conscious awareness. And so when we have environments that have force and people who have not become accustomed to that force, because you can become accustomed to it. You can get so accustomed to it that you don't even feel it anymore. You burn, that feeling of feeling uncomfortable in an area, you can actually become used to it, but you close down those feelings. It's not that they don't exist anymore, you just stop paying attention to them. And that's what happens when people shut down and burn out and become depressed, is that they have had so much of the same thing, force of force and force and force, and then not been able to get out of it.
Ok. Entonces es en un ambiente, en un ecosistema donde hay mucha fuerza, y entiéndase la fuerza así, como todas estas series de instrucciones, de mandatos, de todo lo que nos dicen qué hacer y cómo hacer, inhiben, bueno, no inhiben, no sé cómo decirlo con las palabras que tú lo dices, pero esas necesidades yo las voy a seguir teniendo, pero en vez de que me sirvan para, bueno, y ni siquiera las voy a seguir teniendo porque yo voy a seguir siendo como soy. Pero en vez de que me sean útiles o que me sirvan para negociar, para comunicarme, para mejorar las cosas, más bien yo las voy a frenar, voy a decirles, ahorita no te necesito, necesidad. Y vienen entonces efectos como los que dices, el estrés, el burnout, y entonces aquí ya estamos hablando como de dos conceptos que se unen. Un ecosistema donde puede haber fuerza o no, o sea, más bien, ecosistemas, y por otro lado, las necesidades de las personas. Entonces, entendiendo estos dos, ¿qué hacemos para que las necesidades puedan sernos útiles en un entorno de trabajo?
So the first thing is to recognize I have needs, that life is in me and that they're there, and that force exists around me. If I live in the jungle, there is force. Maybe force is a tiger, maybe force is an elephant, but there is force. And I could lose my life if I don't pay attention to the force.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I can be stressed. There are people in villages in India who don't sleep at night because they're afraid a tiger is going to come into their village and eat one of their children. That's force. So force exists in nature. And we do things to stop that kind of force. We build fences. We protect ourselves from those forces. But in a situation like at work, we actually build the walls and we put force in the walls, not the walls to protect us from the force. We build the walls to keep the force in. Okay. And then we put people in them. So the type of force that we've created, we've used as a way to control people, right? It's a different kind of force. It's a socioeconomic force. It's a force that we say, come and work with me. Here's the rules. You have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. And at any time I could fire you.
Ujú.
Okay. If you don't behave, I'm going to judge you and I'm going to rate you and I'm going to demote you and all of that. And you have to do whatever I tell you. You have to do work on that project. You don't like that project? I don't care. Go work that project. All of that is what's built in the box. And then you put me in the box and I go in there and I feel like I'm not comfortable working in that environment. Why? I don't know. And I blame me. Or I blame you. Right? My boss is bad. The company is bad. Right? The people I work with are bad. And I'm blaming people, be it me or other people. I'm blaming people instead of seeing that it's the force that's making me uncomfortable. The people are just doing their thing as well. They're just doing their needs as well. But because they have force, they have to use force. And so then I have to use force. And we start with what the work that we know today is an environment of walls holding in force so that we can put people in there and hold them inside. That's what we work today. How do we change from that? The way we change from that is we build environments with less force.
Okay.
It's impossible to be completely without force, but we can build them with a lot less force. And so when we know that there is force, let me use this example. If I say to you, Angel, I need you to go take the garbage out and go put it in outside. And you say, well, I'm busy now. I'm doing an interview. I say, no, you have to do it right now. And you believe me, you feel force.
Ujú. Sí.
Okay. And I say, oh, Angel, you know, the truck is going to come to pick up the garbage in 10 minutes. You know, I'm okay to wait if you need to go do that. And we negotiate that. And you say, oh, okay, let's go do that. Yeah, I remember if I forget next week, I have too much garbage and it's going to be a problem. It's not the action that's the problem. To take out the garbage is not the problem. It's mandate. It's force that's the problem. That's why children don't do what their parents force them to do, but they do the things they want to do. Right? I say to a child, hey, take the cup that's over there on the couch and take it and put it in the sink in the kitchen, 10 feet away. Okay? And oh, so much trouble, take the cup 10 feet away. Oh my gosh, the end of the world. No. I say, hey, you want to go outside and run around for 20 minutes? Yeah, let's go. Wait a minute. You don't want to walk 10 feet, but you can run 1 mile.
Es que no es divertido.
Huh?
It's not funny.
It's not just because it's not fun. It's because I'm being told I have to do something that is not fun. But I can make it fun. I can say, hey, you want to put the cup in the thing and then we're going to go do this? No problem. Let's go do that. Oh, yeah. Okay, let me go put this in the cup in the kitchen. With children, we can motivate them like that, and they feel like they're not being told what to do. With work, we can do the same, but if we're negotiating with each other, if we have the opportunity to make it transparent and completely autonomous, then we've built an environment that does not use force.
Entonces es una cuestión de del mindset, del paradigma, de la actitud con la que yo negocio o con la que yo estoy, ¿no? Si yo me relaciono con otra persona dándole órdenes o negociando, son dos caminos distintos, ¿no? Pero estaba pensando en esto, José. Mm, por un lado, como la fuerza está en todos lados y muchas veces ni nos damos cuenta que estoy dentro de la fuerza, tal vez me doy cuenta cuando usan la fuerza conmigo, pero tal vez no soy tan consciente de cuando yo uso la fuerza. Y es más todavía. Pareciera que en los trabajos, mmm, muchas de las aspiraciones que tenemos los trabajadores es a ir creciendo para poder tener más fuerza,
Mhm.
porque de alguna manera me da satisfacción, me da me da algún tipo de beneficio con el que yo creo que voy a poder usarlo, pues sí, para mi propio beneficio, incluso si yo creyera que yo voy a usarlo para el beneficio de los demás. El asunto que estoy pensando es eh, no solo estamos inmersos en la fuerza, sino aspiramos a tener más. Y, y si esto lo escucha una persona que quiere tener un mejor equipo de trabajo, un equipo con colaboradores de mayor responsabilidad, con mayor compromiso, mi conclusión es sencilla, es, pues bueno, si tú estás haciendo mucha fuerza, pues no esperes mucha responsabilidad o mucho compromiso, pero eh, al ver tu reacción, como que creo que quieres decir algo.
Well, it's just that we don't want to move up in hierarchy because we get more force. We want to move up because we have less force.
Menos fuerza que nos usan
Que usa
a,
on us.
a nosotros mismos. ¿Ok? Claro.
There's a beautiful research by a Stanford. I live just 2 minutes from Stanford here. Robert Sapolsky, a researcher, did work on baboons. I believe it was baboons. And what he did was they looked at a troop of baboons, so a little tribe of baboons, and they looked at each one and they said, okay, who's the boss here? Oh, this is the boss, and this is the less boss, and the people, the ones at the bottom, usually females. Okay. And each one of them can beat the other one up, or can take their food, or can have sex with the others. And they were able to draw a good hierarchy from this natural troop of baboons. And then they went and they drew blood from each one. Okay, each one of them, they drew blood. And they got the stress hormone in the blood. Okay. The stress hormone was exactly the pyramid. The ones at the bottom had the most stress in their blood. The ones in the middle, a little less. The ones up, a little less. The ones up, a little less. And the one at the top, the least. Another researcher saw that research and did the same research in the government of the United Kingdom, England, in their federal government. They are also very hierarchical.
Mm-hmm.
They went in and they did the blood test. Exactly the same.
Okay.
Force is the cause of stress. So it's very important to recognize that the reason, one of the reasons, because there's also other status and things like that. But one of the reasons people want to move up is because there's actually less force further up the order. And so when we don't have force, there's less of a desire to move up because I don't see the need to go up to reduce the amount of force on me.
Sin duda. Entonces, me parece buena la conclusión. No es propiamente que queramos tener más fuerza, sino queremos que usen menos fuerza con nosotros. Me hace total sentido. Y yo estaba pensando en esto, José. Una persona que esté escuchándonos y diga, bueno, cuando tú, en vez de dar una orden, negocias con la otra parte que está con la otra persona, y si esa persona tiene voluntad, pues entonces sí va a haber acción, o sí va a haber algún tipo de respuesta. Pero ¿y qué pasa con esas personas, con esos jefes que nos están escuchando y dicen, es que si no uso la fuerza, entonces la otra persona no va a hacer o lo va a hacer mal?
In our society today, the use of force is so pervasive, is so ubiquitous that simply removing force does not work. You can't remove force. Imagine, the example of we build the walls and we put force in it to keep people in. All of a sudden, we take away force. People are going to come out. That's just the way it is. They're going to stop working. They're going to stop doing things. You can't just remove force.
Okay.
You have to remove force as people slowly remove force themselves from their environment through a dialogue and a recognition of their needs. So, hey, I have this need. What's the need? I don't like this. Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, gone. Force is gone. I have to require that, accept that I need that as the person who is a worker in that environment, so that I can create the environment that is needed. If you say to me, hey, no force, now go, doesn't work. Because I don't know about my needs. I don't have a language to communicate with you about them or with my other colleagues. We don't have a new way of regulating our relationships. Our relationships are regulated by force right now. We need to regulate our relationships by needs. And if we don't have that language, if we don't know how to do that, then we can't replace it with nothing. We have to replace it with something.
Esa es la respuesta entonces que estaba buscando. ¿Cómo se une el concepto de las necesidades radicales con los ambientes de la fuerza? Y es muy claro entonces, no solo es quitar la fuerza del ambiente, sino de la fuerza que la misma persona se pone a sí misma. De manera que pueda haber un reconocimiento entonces de mis necesidades, y si se combina con un ambiente o con un medio ambiente de no fuerza, entonces ya puedo relacionarme con otros, y ahí es en donde dices entonces, primero el yo, y luego, ya que yo me conozco, me va a ser más fácil reconocerte a ti, y a partir de ahí ya podemos hacer las cosas en el nosotros.
But it's not in that order. It's not
Okay.
like I have to know me and then I have to know you. It's we have to know each other, because we can only learn to have this conversation together. And I need you to see me and I need me to see you. In other words, I can see myself through your eyes if we have that conversation. If I say to you, I'd like this, and you're like, oh, really? I thought that I see you do this and I see you do that. You're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you. You're right. And we need each other to hold each other honest in a new area, because none of us know how to do this. None of us have lived in an environment without force. So to do this, we need to, I mean, some of us have, but it's with effort. And it takes a relationship to hold each other to do this. I can't do it by myself. We have to do it together. So learning about me and learning about you is a team effort, not a I have to learn by myself at home,
Okay.
like this. That's not how I learn about myself. I learn about myself by talking to you and saying, I feel I need this. I want this. Oh, yesterday you did this. I think you need this. And you say, yeah,
Okay.
I saw you doing this. I think you need that. Yes, you're right. That's how we learn.
Entonces, es un autoconocimiento dinámico y colaborativo.
It has to be. It has to be. That's how we learn about the world inside us. Just like we learned about the world outside us. It was a dynamic experience. Nobody put us inside a little box and said, oh, the world works like this. Let me tell you. And then you go outside and you experience it after.
Okay.
You can't learn about the inside universe any different than the outside universe. It has to be through experience.
Ok. Oye, voy a otro lado de la conversación para aprovechar los minutos que nos quedan. Y tomando en cuenta mi necesidad de meaning, de sentido, te quiero preguntar por los fundamentos. ¿De dónde viene esto? ¿Cómo es que se llegó a la conclusión de que son estas 5 necesidades radicales? ¿Por qué no son 6? ¿Quién las definió? ¿Cómo se definieron? Si nos puedes hablar poquito de esto.
So the first part is understanding that that human beings function from feelings first. And the work of Antonio Damasio has proven that over and over again with his work in the Brain Lab in Southern California. And that understanding that it happens before we even think. We have a decision to do something in our bodies as much as half a second before we know that we're going to do that something. So the neuroscience proves of this aspect of us. That's the first part. As far as dimensions, the work that I did was with 72 different researchers. And they had over 150 different needs that I enumerated. And what the work was to align these different needs and come up with a list of needs that were common between these 72 different theorists. And I came up with 24, 25 of them. Okay. And that 24, 25 is what I used for a year or two as just an understanding of it. Then I ran into some research by Tenhut. It was a researcher in San Diego. And his work covered many different researchers around the world that had talked about what is it that humans need in their environment. The first thing they need is energy, being. Second thing they need is to understand outside of them, meaning. So what's out there and what does it do for me, right? A baby goes and finds something and, ooh, what's that? Yeah, right? First thing they do. That is a natural process of seeking to understand what's outside of us, meaning. But once that baby says, oh, this makes noise, then they go, right? And they love it because they can make an impact in the world. So these being, meaning, impacting, belonging, and becoming was 5 different researchers had different names for them, but they were the consistent groups of these things. The reason I use the names that we use is because they represent that group in a way that can tell the story of what's happening. I am being full of energy and safe and protected and nourished. And then I get to get meaning from the world. Then I get to impact the world. Then I get to have belonging with people who want to have the same meaning and the same impact. And then I get to become. I get to see if I'm doing the right thing and if others are doing the right things. And the cycle is always going on all the time. It's a dynamic cycle of effect of our needs onto the world.
Oye, me imagino que lo pensabas decir, si no, yo lo digo. Hay una app, hay una aplicación que está en Radical Purpose, en la página de internet, donde,
Radicalpurpose.org.
Exacto, donde puedes ingresar y puedes hacer tu propio estudio personal y puedes ver el resultado a partir de 25 preguntas que son, es un test cerca de 10 minutos que te toma para que, basado en las respuestas que tú pones, te arroja un resultado sobre los niveles de necesidades que tienes o que tuviste al momento de responder. Yo ya lo hice, ya el equipo ha ayudado a entender lo que tenemos por. Entonces, al hacer esta prueba, el equipo de trabajo lo puede hacer, lo puede hacer una vez, pero ¿qué pasa si lo vuelvo a hacer en el futuro? ¿Puede cambiar las necesidades o esencialmente son las mismas? ¿O cómo debo de considerarlo para de aquí al futuro?
So your needs are the same. What changes is the environment that your needs are in. So if I can always get hungry, but if I have no food, then I'm hungry, right? So I can always get hungry. And some people get hungry like that, and some people are like my sister. She can go for hours and hours, no food, no water. She's okay. But that's her, right? So if there is no food for her, she's okay. If there's no food or water for me, after a couple hours, I'm in trouble. I start to say, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I'm thirsty. So the needs don't change very much for us. What changes is our situation.
Okay.
And so our needs show up differently based on our situation.
Ok, me queda muy claro. Ya para ir acabando este gran episodio, te quiero preguntar, ¿existen casos de alguna organización, algún equipo de trabajo que haya empezado a usar esta forma de relacionarnos, si, si esto está creciendo, si es posible que nos compartas, si no está bien, pero si alguien que está interesado en profundizar más puede sentirse confiado de que hay empresas que están usando esto.
We're starting to work now with organizations. What we do is we embed ourselves in the organization. So we don't do traditional consulting of just saying, here's how you do it, goodbye. We come in and we become part of the organization. And what we do is we transition to reduce force towards co-management and co-ownership. Okay, because force comes in both ways. It comes in the way you make decisions and organize, govern, but it also comes in the way you distribute the value of the organization. So if I say to you, we're a flat organization, completely self-organized, and I make all the money, it's still force, right?
Okay.
So it's about an organization that is distributed in management and distributed in ownership. And so we're working with a couple of organizations right now. So we don't have any organizations that have been operating under this for years or something. We have some that are operating now for a few months, and they're in the midst of the transition. So this is not a situation where the transition is done or anything of that way, but it's a process. What we're really excited about is starting new organizations in this structure, what we call radical companies. And a radical company is an organization that starts as an organization made up of people that are already without force, that are already collaborative. And it's much easier, much faster to start that process than it is to take away the old force and replace it with needs in a larger organization. One of the organizations we're working with has roughly 100, 150 people in there, and it takes time to adjust that type of organization. But we're working with organizations in Mexico as well that are smaller, 30, 20 people, 10 people. So those are the types of work that we're doing.
¿Cuánto tiempo más o menos puede tomar un acompañamiento?
Because we work with the organization, our primary focus is on the operation of the organization.
Okay.
So we don't want the organization to suffer through the process of migration, right? So it could depend. If the organization is struggling to do the work that it's doing, just to do the work, then that becomes the priority. But as we're doing that, we're working through to help people to start to become based on their needs and not on force. So I don't know the answer to that question because we haven't completely done a larger organization of that scope of 100, 150 with completely. But my guess is that it's probably a year and a half of for that kind of organization, because it's a young organization and it has a lot of growing as an organization to do. So it's trying to grow and adjust at the same time to the new radical company.
Muy bien. Dos preguntas más. ¿Cómo podemos saber más de todo esto que nos estás compartiendo?
Well, there's two ways. We're putting on webinars to help people learn about what we're talking about in a little bit more detail than just this hour. We have ambassadors in Latin America. We have ambassadors in the United States. We have ambassadors in Europe now, all of which can be reached out to and learn about what can be done in your local community. They can do that through contacting us on radicalpurpose.org. we're changing the website to list all of the ambassadors and all of that. So that's in the process. The other thing that they can do is they can join us for a workshop in February. We're going to be doing a 3-day workshop developed by our ambassadors. And that work is going to be about helping people to experience force, to experience their needs, and to start thinking about how do I put this in practice in my organization or in my team.
¿Va a ser online?
It will be online.
Okay.
In English, in Spanish, and Portuguese.
Ok. Ok. Y si quisiéramos contactarte, ¿hay alguna red social donde te podamos encontrar? Digo, yo sé que sí, pero para que nos las digas.
Yeah, the best for me is LinkedIn. So Jose Leal. You'll see me. I'm the only bald, gray beard, Jose Leal there. So you'll find me easy.
Muy bien. ¿Algo que quieras mencionar que nos haya hecho falta y que creas que es importante?
I think the most important thing is that we are not trying to change businesses. We're trying to change relationships.
Okay.
Collaboration. That's what we're doing. And in order to change from a work environment where there is no collaboration to a work environment where there's real collaboration, we need to slow down a little bit and talk to each other and learn about each other, be honest with each other, radical transparency. I need this. I want this. This is important to me. This is what makes my heart sing. This is what is important. That is the kind of conversation we need to have. It's not about how do you do this work or how do you do that work. It's the radical transparency is at the human level. After we can come up with the right answer to how to do this work or that work together. But we have to connect as human beings first. That's the most important part. No matter what we do, no matter what transformation we're working, whatever you want to call it, if we're not working with life needs first, then it's not going to work.
José, no sé si me imagino que han hecho este juego de palabras contigo. José Leal nos está invitando a ser leales con nuestras propias necesidades. ¿Qué tal esa curiosidad?
Yeah, that's very true. It is about connecting with that and honoring them in a real way, in a powerful way. And yeah, Leal is a good way to do that.
Muchas gracias, José. Lo disfruté mucho y pues espero que las personas que nos ven, que nos escuchan en el podcast, que nos ven en YouTube, pues, lo disfruten mucho y si tienen dudas, nos contactan y podemos seguir hablando. Gracias, José.
Thank you very much. It was awesome. Appreciate it.
¿Te gustó el episodio? Déjanos saber tus comentarios en @significadoscompartidos en todas las redes, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, donde gustes. Pero no te puedo dejar ir sin antes recomendarte que entres al primer episodio de esta temporada 3, el Self-Management Model Canvas, donde podrás descubrir un metamodelo. Y además te hago la invitación nuevamente a que entres a la Academia de Significados Compartidos para que puedas descubrir los cursos que tenemos ahí para ti. Bueno, te espero en la siguiente y nos vemos.
Viaje por las metodologías de la autogestión. Tercera temporada.